We're officially getting the SilverLight question and answer going. Introduce myself. I'm Exodus, a council member for SilverLight. Also, second in command for operations. That's a few other things that I deal with, but that's mostly a division of labor from council, so it's not too important. We have also got the last of his kind and the savior of a dead race, Raptor Jesus.
Hello, I am Raptor Jesus.
Yep.
I wear many hats in SLI. I've been involved with them for around 2 years.
Yep.
I am head of internal security. I am a council member as well.
So in this circumstance, I just want to remind anyone from SilverLight watching, Jesus is watching you.
Yes. I'm the reptile variety.
Yes, no, of course. He's also a council member, if anyone's interested. Him and I sort of share the public relations aspect, although, just for public knowledge, any council member is permitted to behave on behalf of public relations to an extent, or human relations. So if you are a member of SilverLight and you have any issues with other members, the corporation, or you just need some direction, you can ask any counselor, but I would recommend targeting those that are in your particular branch, because they would have more ready answers. So, also joining us today is Zackd41pro from the Terran Union. He is the Minister of the MIRD. What exactly does that stand for?
Minister of Infrastructure and Regional Development. So basically anything that's going to be constructed at least gets approved through us in some degree. Big things. We want to start a international standard, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. We've been speaking with Terran Union about international standards. So if anyone is interested in that from other organizations, please stop by. It's not so much limitation, but more of a communication basis. So we understand each other and we're able to make our technology interact. So it's not like we're going to tell you what to do. We just want to facilitate us coordinating as separate entities.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing that triggered the idea is the like, if you guys make a ship and somebody else makes a ship, they'll both be able to use the same docking clamps, etc.
Docking is probably the easiest, I'd say, meeting point on this matter, because if you fly your ship somewhere and you want it to auto dock, it's not going to do that unless you're both working the same code. So, also joining us today, our special guest from the community is Kurock, two-time community winner for the Nova Remo writing contest. He's also an active member throughout the community and one of the leaders of DICE. Did you start DICE, or?
It's an interesting story. Well, I don't know how interesting it is, but it started off as things effectively just trying to find it. Well, it started off as a hovercraft organization that was started by Explosive, and I went to him and said, okay, let's make this thing a bit big, cover all games within the universe, and that's basically where DICE started. We actually did start off as just a small channel inside Alpha Academy many years back, and from there we grew into our own Discord. It's pretty much, that's DICE in a nutshell.
All right. Yeah, I actually I didn't know about DICE until after it hit its own Discord and organization. You're also in Arc Central, right?
I help out a little bit in the back end. I'm not sure how useful I am there, but I'm more active on the Dual Universe Historical Society.
Oh, what exactly does the Historical Society do? Is it like self-explanatory, where you guys just keep track of events?
Pretty self-explanatory. It's mostly community news. If you join the Discord, I'll probably have it at some point.
Oh, I'm in there.
We list things that the community is doing. It's less what NovaQuark news and more what the community itself is doing in Dual Universe.
Okay.
So it's things like the Novian Dreamers Almanac and a lot of Arc Central. It's taking up a lot of our space.
I imagine you guys are going to become a lot busier cataloging and researching events once the game is active.
Oh, definitely. I think it'll be very busy then.
I think we need to, just as a side note on that, I think we need to document what the first ship is that makes it into space. Although it might be difficult to nail down which one that is, probably sort of a matter of opinion. But if we can find what that guy is, and the one that breaks atmosphere, and we can put that thing in a museum, it should be interesting how jankety it looks.
It'll be very difficult to actually
verify
know who that was, unless we get NovaQuark involved.
Yeah. Wait, we might be able to do that, because I think that'll be something they'd be interested in.
That'd be cool. Although, in my mind, I only imagine a chair attached to a rocket, and then the person dies in atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much. I'm thinking the same thing. This is the first chair that went to orbit.
So yeah, today we're all here to talk about SilverLight Industries, Dual Universe as a game, and then the community of Dual Universe. We're going to go ahead and start off with SilverLight in general. So I just want to... I know SilverLight has been pretty sealed-lipped for a good amount of its existence. And a lot of people don't know exactly what it is that we do. We are a top-down industrial organization, very much run from a corporate ladder perspective. The council operates as somewhat of a board of directives, where we have members all throughout the organization who are elected to the council that oversee general direction and particular projects. Other than that, we have Shadow Lord Alpha. He would fill the role of the CEO, who runs the entire company, and then beneath him are 3 directors. We've got Downer for You running security. We've got Cinemas running logistics, and Captain Frosty in operations. And then after that, it breaks down based on how the particular director wanted to break out their division. Yeah, that's pretty much SLI. We're a business through and through. So with that, we're going to attempt to procure resources in-house, develop designs, build constructs. We plan to sell not only ships, but also buildings and hovercrafts. Oh, and components. If anyone was wondering, we don't purely develop and sell ships. We are going to sell ship components in mass. So that that cockpit that you need, or the gyro, we're going to have a bunch of those on the marketplace, and it's going to be primarily active in that regard. So if you don't want us building your ship, whether it's personal or off of our ship of the line, by all means, buy the parts from us and build it yourself. We have no problem with that. That's just a general rundown of SilverLight. You got anything to add, Raptor?
I mean, for the most part, we are going to be mostly an industrial organization. We do plan on getting involved with all other orgs as well, and plan on creating community projects that will impact and improve the community overall, especially the more veteran players and the new players coming to the game in the future. Really, one of our main goals is to develop the game and make it pretty much just make sure it is expanding and going somewhere.
Yeah.
But we do plan on essentially doing business with everybody. We have no biased views towards other orgs or who we do business with. We will factor in some little things, but we do plan on not restricting anyone to our markets or to our sales. We will have an equal opportunity for everyone to do business with us, regardless of who you're with, what your standing is. If you are involved with a certain conflict or anything like that, we want to have everything even Steven with everybody. We're going to be completely neutral to the fact that we are not going to get involved with conflicts. We are strictly business.
Yes, and just to dive a bit deeper into the concept of not getting involved in conflict, we have been set. Shadow Lord Alpha likes to give us a lot of leeway in how to operate the company. One of the few things that he was hardline on, which none of us really conflict this, is that we will have a peace agreement essentially with every organization in Dual Universe starting off. One-way armistice. We will not engage in hostile activity with anyone unless first engaged upon. Not to be confused with not defending our assets. We'll obviously have our own security division to protect everything that we do, transporting goods and what have you. But whether it's Terran Union, since you're here, or the Solar Empire, or Boo, you guys are fine. We'll sell anything to anyone. We will not consider you a hostile agency until you take hostilities against us, at which point negotiations will begin for compensation of losses if it is seen necessary to require those, and failure to reach a agreement will result in a trade embargo from us, in that if you are taking hostilities against our assets, we're not going to sell anything to you. We won't do business with you or anyone that you are closely tied to. But from the other side of that coin, if two of our customers are at war, we're not going to take sides. We are going to sell to both of them, and we have started some discussions in our ethics department on exactly how we should handle that in the regards of honoring trade embargoes from one of our allies. If we're providing goods to both sides of a war and one of them declares a trade embargo on the other and demands that we stop doing so, we're not certain exactly how we intend to react to that just yet, although we do have a number of options. We're just sort of weighing the pros and cons at the moment, but later in the development, we'll come to a solid stance on that. But yeah.
Something to kind of add to that.
Uh-huh.
It's more of a question towards you guys. So I guess first it kind of opens up with, where do you plan on to HQ, at least generally, and how I'm kind of talking about that tying in is, let's say, I don't know, you make your headquarters in Boo Central or something like that, and Boo Central becomes under attack. Doesn't that technically put you under attack to a degree too?
That is true, that our assets would be a great consideration during times of combat. However, our headquarters, and actually, I'm going to go to a question real quick that's directly related to this before I get too in-depth. One moment. Where will SLI base from? A company headquarter, its own public city, or decentralized stores in different cities? Comes from one of the members, and to answer that, it's going to be all three. We're actually going to have a company headquarters that, for at least the early days, will be located in the Arc Central or Arc Ship Protection Zone. Primarily to our personal business pledge, we will be where our customers are. And since everybody's going to be on Alioth for a while at least, that's where we're going to be, as close as we can to the markets. After that, we do plan to build a city. Where our primary headquarters and where our city is going to be, we're not certain. But we will put stores up in every city with anyone we have a trade agreement with. So anywhere our customers go, we're going to go. And to answer your question, wouldn't we also be under attack? Yes. Now, how we're going to handle that, I'm not certain. That's another thing we need to discuss. Right now, I would say one of our options would be to pull our assets out of the city if it became too hostile, or to, I don't know. To be honest, I can't answer that. I don't want to say that we would defend the city with the occupants, because that would be taking sides in the war. But obviously that would be something we'd have to hash out, because right now I have no good answer for that.
Gotcha.
I think it really depends on the circumstance of what happens. Like, who is attacking us? What is going on? Like what the stakes are like who, how many forces we have in that area. I mean, honestly, if we didn't have many units to defend our assets, we would solely focus on our assets and not really focus on anything else. But by all means, if we had the assets or the troops in the area to defend like the whole entire city, we definitely would. But
that's also not to say that we won't at any point make a defensive agreement with any given organization. That is an option.
Sure.
It's not one we primarily want to explore, because we are very dedicated to neutrality, but we don't really know how things are going to go. So right now, everything's on the table.
our defensive is going to be more passive. If we're directly attacked, then we will directly defend ourselves. But we will not be active in seeking conflict or get involved in conflict, because essentially we would be picking a side. Say like Solar Empire, for some reason, is in a conflict with TU and they're fighting and stuff like that. Like an SLI ship goes by. If we're not under attack, we won't get involved. We won't defend or attack or anything like that. But say one of you guys starts shooting at us, we would directly defend ourselves or just bug out.
Sure. I actually have.
What's that?
I have something else that kind of ties in, but I'll hold out for.
Okay.
Please till we finish this topic.
Well, as far as that goes, that's pretty much all I got in the regards to where we're going to be located, except that we will attempt to place our facilities closer to trusted customers, not only for ease of access, so we can get you the supplies that you need, but also for, umbrella security, which might result in exceptions being made to the SLI neutrality for individual locations, such as defensive agreements for just that city or something of that nature.
Sure. Do you want me to go into what ties in?
Sure.
Okay. So I had discussed at some point about the transportation of goods, where I'm almost looking at it like a cargo ship, where you have cargo containers to not only kind of standardize that any ship can carry somebody else's goods in the same manner, because it all fits within that container style.
Uh-huh.
But let's say you guys do end up moving your assets. Do you plan on contracting like movers? Like, let's say you build a giant engine and it's just the component of the engine. Do you plan on integrating with mover systems and truckers and stuff like that? Because I have stuff that we're trying to set up where we have basically FedEx. Is the only way I could put it. And if you're not from the U.S., it's not privatized. Well, I guess it is privatized, but
Yes.
mail delivery, basically.
Are you asking if we're going to have something like that?
Well, between trying to figure out how we can because if you guys are going to make a lot, the biggest things that comes to mind for me is how to build units and ships that easily transport goods regardless of size.
I mean, that is
If
something
you
we've
follow me.
addressed. We're actually developing a number of industrial freighters. most of them specialized, either for certain core size of ships or materials or ore, but it'll be very specific as to what it's trying to carry.
Okay.
I suppose the question here is SLI going to fly these ships that yourselves, or are you going to sell your ships to other parties and they're going to do the transporting for you?
Oh, we will do our own transportation. Our logistics division does have a transportation team, and they will be partnered up with a security division whenever we need to make transport runs. So we will move our own assets. Of course, if someone orders something from us and it has to be delivered farther away, we will charge them for delivery. However, if we're delivering our own products to our own marketplace for open sale, then no, that will be at no charge to the individual, although it will adjust based on how the standard works in any market. The farther away it is from access, the more it's going to cost, because commodity costs go up based on availability.
Sure. And I mean, I guess the other thing is how to streamline transportation. Like, let's say, for example, I'm trying to set up the postal system.
Yeah.
Is it in a manner where you guys have extra space and you sell that extra space off, I guess?
Well, I actually designed a post office for the Terran Union back when I was a member, before I was promoted. And essentially the way that would work is it is a warehouse that it operates somewhat on PO deposit boxes, to where someone can come in and pay for the storage of material, and whoever we would generate a lock, if you will, or a tag for the RDMS, and it will have whoever you wish specified as having access to this box, and then we will distribute the key to access it to whoever you specified.
Sure. Okay. I see what you're getting at.
So essentially you could come by and be like, I'm dropping this off, whoever, these people can come and get it, and then you leave. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's in the lockbox. No one can access it but who you wanted to.
Right. I think the other thing that comes to mind is, do you guys plan to do, the only word that comes to mind is cash sale? You don't,
sale.
finance.
That's actually something we've been recently discussing with our logistical department. Cash sale will be the primary quanta for material. For trusted organizations and organizations only, we would allow the delivery of goods before the payment, where we extend you is more or less a line of credit. And then there would be an understanding on when that would have to be paid, or else incurring penalties. But we also will accept payment in the form of materials. If you are bringing us ship components or just raw ore, we can give you a quote on what we will give you for that ore in trade for whatever you're getting from us.
Right.
So yeah, we will do trade, but you should keep in mind we're going to tip the scale so it favors us, if not a lot, then at least a little. And that would entirely depend on what you're trading in.
Sure, that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, since we're talking about sales, I'll go ahead and go to another question about sales. All right. We had someone ask us, what will SLI plan to manufacture aside from ships, and does SLI plan to form any agreements with other industrial organizations? Just to knock that out of the way, I think we've covered it. We will be developing hovercrafts. We will be developing structures. Pretty much everything that can be used in-game, we're going to build it, and we're going to sell it. We will make
Suppose
agreements.
The better question here would be,
Okay.
better question here would be, what are you not going to make?
No. No would be the appropriate answer to that question. We're literally open to anything. If you want a space station, we will give you a quote on designing the space station. If you want us to then build that space station, we will give you a quote on how much it will cost us to build the space station. We can build parts of cities. Now, keep in mind, it's going to be based on our workload. So it may take longer for certain things. We may have to refuse certain contracts if it's too large for our current ability to construct. But we are not opposed to building anything. We will build you military crafts, civilian crafts, industrial. We will build you a spire. We'll make you a landing pad. We'll build you defensive buoys to be deployed in space. We've already developed some of those. We'll build anything.
So, go ahead, Raptor.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, there's not really anything we would not design to capitalize and sell on.
So, something I would add to that. So let's say, for example, you guys do build a space station.
Mm-hmm.
When it's completed, do you guys plan to do maintenance or maintenance contracts as well? Let's say like it's something that stretches farther or bigger than just one space station. Like it's an array or something.
Are you asking if we'll maintain those structures?
Well, not, I assume specifically it would be more cash buy and then you have it. But for, let's say, community-wide projects that are quality of life, or other sites, do you plan on setting some sort of maintenance?
Well, we can't confirm that completely at the moment, but we would be open to negotiations. SilverLight Industries wants to be satisfactory to its customers as much as we want to be a part of the community. So if what we're building is for the community at large, we would probably donate maintenance as well as donating a whatever we did to build the structure. That wouldn't be like on a contract basis, though. It'd be more like, hey, the structure's kind of beat up. Is there anything you could do? We'd be like, yeah, we'll send someone over. But as far as like if we sell you a space station, if we build it for you, we could negotiate a contract where we would come and repair it for, however much, or, we'd be on retainer for repairing that structure whenever you needed.
Sure, makes sense. I do have something that kind of ties in again, if you don't have anything more to add.
Just real quick, was the other part of that question, do we plan to make any agreements with industrial organizations? Yes, we do. Exactly what those agreements are extremely dependent on the organization and what both of us stand to gain from them. I will say that one thing we will not do is subcontract organizations to build things for us. That is something that was decided in a managerial discussion with Captain Frosty and some of the other members. But we will, for example, subcontract a mining corporation to bring us in materials and maybe give them some kind of preferential buy deals, absolutely. But yeah, what were you going to add?
So, getting to kind of how I wanted to address community quality of life projects, let's just say. One of the big things I want to discuss is one second, I'm looking it up. The ability to work on, like, for say, a project where we make repeater stations throughout sectors to allow script repeating, I guess, to some degree, and in a manner where, I don't know, let's just say it's a reporting system network for
talking about a communication buoy.
Check into something. I don't know. I'm still trying to see play because there's a lot of unknowns.
Like a relay?
Yeah, kind of like a relay. So, like for instance, I'm assuming localized communication would be limited to a certain range, where like you could send it to the repeater, and it could repeat it out further than you could hear, or also the same for maybe scripts or something.
I am expecting that to be a necessity,
And, like,
both with communication and remote access of the market.
okay.
But SLI, we have no intentions at this time of providing a telecommunications network, but that may change in the future.
Okay, because I'm almost looking at it as if like open, you know, we are making the, and I put big air quotes on it because I have no idea how it's going to play out, the internet
Yeah.
of DU.
Yeah, that's essentially what it would be.
Like a mass communication system.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we do plan on getting involved in a lot of the community projects that will benefit the whole entire game as a whole. I wouldn't necessarily do it like as like a charity per se, but we do plan on providing some services to the community that benefit everyone as a whole. Kind of it helps push the evolution of the game in terms of expanding and connecting a lot more of the people and the organizations together. Kind of like improving efficiency in a lot of things. But we do plan on getting involved in a lot of those projects.
Number of projects we were interested in getting involved in was, of course, with Kurock's Dice, their entertainment board and entertainment division. We do plan to help them in any way we can in developing entertainment. We've already had discussions about that in the past. We also plan to assist with the Tempest program. Exactly how we're going to assist with that, we don't know, but we were greatly intrigued with the concept.
Sure.
So once Yamamushi decides how he's going to start rolling that ball, I guess we'll talk about what SLI's dedication to it is.
Right. I guess one other thing that kind of comes to mind is like, let's say, for example, this is something I've kind of discussed with departments and, you know, some of the other ministers of TU is, I really think it's beneficial to the community. Like, let's say we start building a user interface that runs on top of ships, okay? And rather than, how do I want to put it? Not restricting it, so like, let's say SLI builds the ship, but the user interface is open source to everybody. Because I'm just trying to think about it, how it's like, it's not beneficial to every builder, every nation to build their own UI, because again, that leads to incompatibilities. Whereas if everybody's building on top of the same base system, it allows, you know, it's easier for people to work together / develop their, you know, better tech. You know, again, same with the internet. You know, if everybody builds their own individual comm systems, it's going to be less beneficial.
That's why we do have plans to standardize a lot of these things, because it will help with, say, like someone scripts like a communications protocol or something like that. They'll be able to work with all the same ones. Essentially, as a community, if we all agree to use that one protocol, we can start from there and perfect that. But I know what you mean. Like, it doesn't make sense or be advantageous if, you know, the 10 different orgs make 10 different protocols for communications.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. But
I'm just looking at it as in terms of proprietary. Like, if you guys spearhead UI, you guys don't plan to proprietary maybe all of it, I guess, to some degree.
we do plan on doing that. We do plan on making some proprietary SLI scripting and coding that will be included with certain ships, or can be sold at a certain price, and will have continuous updates. And we do plan on releasing some free open source things as well. We do plan on doing both. Like, we would have proprietary scripts and coding that we only sell with our ships. We also will get involved in projects that involve kind of like donating your time to the community, as in developing open source coding that improves other coding as well. We do plan on doing both.
Okay, because I'm looking at it in terms of like light software versus full software, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, basic coding.
Yeah, and just in general.
I mean, when you think
want
about it,
trial.
the basic coding can be done automatically, but we're going to wire up our everything that we sell so that switches and landing gear and stuff like that, all that works. But as far as like in-depth programming, we can add more programming for like maneuvers and more detailed action, but that won't be like standard necessarily.
I see what you're saying. Okay, we're on the same page.
Also, I wanted to point out, just for anyone that was interested in being a customer, because we have had a commission for a couple of vehicles already. Any vehicles that we design in-house under commission, the blueprints will be kept under lock and key and will be very closely secured by probably Raptor Jesus working with our operations division as part of our internal security, so that any of your opponents or any even neutral factors will not be able to get the blueprints to the ships. We provide you under contract in order to find its structural weaknesses in that way.
You know, something that kind of ties into that as well. Talking about this whole standardization thing, do you think we should, as a community, reach out to, what did they call them? A copyright international thing? I don't know. I don't know how we'd enforce that, though, as well.
I think I talked to Novaquark about a little bit of stuff like that, like copyright, like who technically owns like the intellectual rights to, say, like an organization or a logo and things like that, technically, since it's through DU. Really, I think you can copyright your own intellectual material and use it in game. Technically, it's not owned by Novaquark, so you technically could, but I'm not too sure how the copyright infringements work if it's through the game itself.
Right. Yeah, because I'm looking more internal to the game. Right? I mean, yes, also that's good, but I'm saying you guys build a ship, and building company Z looks at it, steals it in a battle, or the crew gets killed, let's say, they haul it back to their base and then tear it apart and then build their own version.
Unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do to secure against reverse engineering, as that is a primary component to PvP in Dual Universe I project. We can stop people from gaining access to the ship itself, and we can stop people from gaining access to the blueprint outside of the ship, the schematic. But there's very little we can do about someone taking the wreckage of a ship and taking it apart to see what it looks like.
Sure. I just look at it from...
we could penalize them in the concept of a corporation or in the concept of a nation. Like, you guys can make laws against it, and if another person takes your ship and takes it apart, like, you can do something about it, but there's nothing hardline in the sense of contracts or RDMS that really can be done. Because in the end, as much as we want to regulate and stabilize Dual Universe, it is very much the Wild West in that only what is permitted is what we say is permitted, and no one actually has to follow any of that.
That's very true.
I'm just looking in terms of, let's say we have everybody in this bureau between standardizing and copyright. Maybe it's less about, salvage. Maybe there's an international thing that says if it's dead in space, it's open game, which should be the way it should be. But, let's say on a different term where I'm just going to use myself because I don't really know every single org. So let's say you guys build a ship and we buy it from you and then immediately, rather than using it, we just reverse engineer it, like preventing things like that. Like, you know, don't be a dick rule, I guess.
I mean, we can say don't be a dick, but in the end, there's nothing we can do to stop that.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, honestly, I mean, the way we're going to be doing business, I know there's like nothing 100% that'll prevent somebody from just completely ripping off our designs.
Yeah.
But we will make it advantageous for the customer to directly do business with us, sort of like buying a ship that's authorized through SLI, because you would get some benefits like the support of the ship from the company.
That's
like
true.
That. So
like a proper maintenance plan.
Right,
Perfect,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, we will make it advantageous for you to directly deal with us instead of, you know, buying like a gray market ship.
Which is a
ship.
good time to note that we are going to have repair bays along with our manufacturing industries located next to any SLI facilities, even if it's in a remote city off in the galaxy. If we have a shop there where we're selling things to you, we're going to have a repair bay where you can get things repaired as well. And on top of that, we may be able to negotiate some kind of a repair voucher if you purchase a ship from SLI. So the first time this thing gets beat up, we'll fix it for you.
So are these repair bays for SLI ships only, or?
Oh, general purpose. We will fix anyone's ship.
Purpose.
I mean,
Would you support a gray ship though?
A gray ship?
Like a copy.
We'll fix anything.
Like a gray
SLI
market
copy
ship.
ship.
Well, I mean, obviously we will. I mean, the plan is to have some sort of automation plan for those kind of things, but we will have some sort of system in place that we would be able to determine if you did buy an authorized ship from us.
You could get a discount or something.
Right. We'll have a system in place where if you say, like, if you have some sort of support plan or some sort of deal that came with the ship that you purchased through SLI, you will have some sort of process that will authorize you to certain benefits at the repair station. But yeah, essentially anyone can be able to use it. But say if you had like a little bit of a discount through us, if you use our repair stations because you bought a ship from us, you'll be able to have a system in place that you can get that discount. But yeah, I mean, we'll be able to have it open to everybody.
Yeah, we have to leave the specifics up to logistics and the code monkeys on exactly how that's going to work.
Gotcha. I think something else that kind of comes with that. So, being that I talk about this internet thing, right? I'm almost looking at it as is a licensee. So your license plate is on this network as well. Maybe that's something.
It would be possible to do something of that nature, but when somebody has access to the core and they own it, they can go in there and rip out any coding they want. And coding is really the only way we have to put any kind of seal of approval on a ship that can't be easily replicated.
Right. And I think that's kind of where I'm going with this, because something I see which would be beneficial is, let's say, I talk about the UI again, kind of we're tying together. That UI not only helps you run those base systems that everybody should have access to, but it also is your license. You know, let's say that license pulls, like, it's a ship that was built by you guys, which has a tag, which then is registered under TU, which also has a tag. And then it also tells you who specifically bought and owned that ship individually, whether or not it's TU government or Mr. Nobody in...
The only way to really be able to manage such a system, which is possible, is to have the RDMS system maintain that whoever produced the ship is the actual end-all owner, and then give rights to its control, restricting access to the code or just the right RDMS tags, so that they can't remove the constructor as the owner. And then the customer would essentially have to trust that we won't, for no reason at all, repossess the ship.
Sure, that makes sense too. Because, I mean, how I'm looking at it is, if this is done correctly Like, I want to tie in docking procedures to this UI, where if you're not showing up on radar, you're automatically suspect for smuggling or putting down an attack. It's like, you know, if you're, it's like driving with your lights off, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I mean, you could have included in the code a signal that'll be sent, like a friend or foe identification. You have to keep in mind that if someone that purchases a ship has access to the code, they can just copy that bit of code right out of it and throw it in anything else.
They're still running with their lights off is how I'm looking at it then.
I do have to mention one thing. At all my time in DU, I have never, I mean, everyone that mentions ever smuggling. What is going to necessarily be illegal in DU that will be beneficial trading illegally?
It's a good question. I don't know.
I feel like if anyone's going to figure out the answer to that question, it's going to be the Terran Union. Because out of everyone, I feel like they're putting in the most work to specify laws, rules, and restrictions. To a pretty strong degree. I don't know whether to be aghast or applaud you. I did not honestly think that a corporation would go anywhere near the depth that you guys are attempting.
What do you mean?
Who is that to address to?
Zach. That was to the Terran Union, but...
Oh.
So on the smuggling thing, it's only if an organization actually specifies something is illegal will it become smuggling. And until that happens, there won't be any smuggling.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so, I mean, if Terran Union turns around and says, all stolen ships are illegal goods and they may not be traded. They must be returned to their rightful owners, for example. I don't know if ships can be stolen or not, but that's a moot point. Then you would have ship smuggling out of them to get ships away.
Trade embargoes would be one way to verify smuggling. If an organization launched a trade embargo against another, anyone carrying materials intent for that organization would be smuggling.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, again, it's stuff that I don't know how it's going to play out. It's more, you know, everything that, at least from my departments down in the TU, we're mostly just trying to, you know, find the things that will be a problem, not just for TU, but in general. You know, smuggling may never become a thing. I hope it doesn't. It would probably make the game a little more toxic than it needs to be, I think.
I just can't imagine just like somebody going around and saying, hey, I got 30,000 cubic feet of dirt that just fell off the truck. Really good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
illegal dirt, sir.
Yeah. When I hear, you know, it's just the other side. You know, when Boo says they're going to be a pirate organization, at least I think they're still doing that. I don't know. That leads to say they're going to try and steal goods. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to put any words in
I am honestly, well, keeping in mind that as a career for DU, I intended to be a miner, first and foremost. And then I'd lightly do some designing, and I wanted to be a combat engineer where I could repair ships in the heat of battle. But, having said that, I generally tend to avoid PvP, especially direct PvP, because I'm a support player in everything I do. So when I want action, my action is fixing the shit other people are blowing up. Like, that's as good as it gets. I don't want to shoot at anybody, and I would rather not be shot at. But having said that, I am excited for the PvP aspect of Dual Universe, and I definitely want a sustained one. It might be surprising for some people to think that I am a major proponent to hacking and salvaging and other such things that would incur profit to PvP players, but I think that's very necessary, because if this game does not have a strong PvP mechanic to it, it will not endure the test of time as well as if it didn't.
It will be pretty boring.
Or as if it did.
I like to put it, civil engineers build the targets, engineers build the bombs.
But Yeah. Yeah, see.
It's funny because we do both.
Yeah.
We build fucking everything. Alright, let me just mark this as red. Alright, let's go to another question. I'll just start at the top, and this is appropriate. So we had a question that says, so a great number of the community feels that the Terran Union is choking its civilian community. What are your thoughts on this?
With laws.
What was that?
I don't know with what the community feels the Terran Union is choking people with. I would guess with laws and regulations.
Yes,
maybe?
I was actually going to say that is my understanding. That apparently this questioner feels that the Terran Union is regulating their members to death.
I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but I think right now what we're trying to do is add order to the chaos and not put it in, at least, and I can only speak for my department down, we're just looking for quality of life stuff, you know. My biggest focus is standardization. I think that helps everybody. And the only people that don't benefit from that are the people who don't want to work together. Or, you know, maybe in terms of like laws and regulations for cities, it might be soft RP, you know. I'm just looking at it as they're giving us the building blocks to make the game whatever we want.
Yeah.
To some degree, without anything, we're just going back to anarchy, and you're not in a controlled sector then.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Even Nova Quark wants a civilization to sprout up, or multiple civilizations. So I think if nothing else, these laws and regulations go quite well for role playing. Even if you can't enforce a lot of it, having like police officers walking around in the city asking people questions on whether or not they're violating certain laws, I think would be pretty fun.
Let me see your papers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That would be great. Like, you don't expect that. Like, you're in this building world, and you're like, yeah, here's a building, and I can go in here, and I can buy some, I don't know, this building sells engines exclusively. I don't know why a specific building would only sell engines. Well, let's just say it does. And then you see a cop standing out front looking for people who are stealing things or that shouldn't be in the city. And they're like, hey, who are you with? Like, that would be great.
I don't know. I think it mixes a little bit of D&D and other, but like, I don't know. It as well as it, you know, if again I can only speak from my ministry. One of the only big rules that I want to make is validation and standardization of buildings. Like, if I just say, build whatever the fuck you want, it's going to turn into everybody's building slightly different. There's no roads who have certain zone spaces so people can get through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more just not to make a city look like shit.
I think there's certain rules and regulations that can be held in reason, with like good explanation behind them. Like, for example, to say how big a road has to be between two structures. That's reasonable.
Exactly.
If it's too small, you can't drive anything in there. It's going to be fucking annoying. At the same time, saying buildings have to be reasonably well built as opposed to this ugly dirt block like in Minecraft. Like, you don't want a fucking
That's
dirt block
exactly.
in the middle of your city. That's
Okay.
reasonable.
What's wrong with my dirt block?
You take that outside of the city limits, Kurock.
Hey, dirt farm.
But I like my dirt block. It's a very pretty dirt block. Are you? So you're saying inside the city you're not allowing my beautiful dirt block?
Dirt farming is very profitable.
Yeah, and we smuggle it too.
Yes.
We have to have a line in the sand. Just as long as that line in the sand is not inside of the city borders. Because we have regulations.
Sure. And I mean, the other thing is easy of use. So I can only talk about some of the cities we want to play to build. Think of it, if I just allow anybody to build anywhere, again, one of the other big rules that I want to set up is zone restrictions. Let's say everybody's private little bases, whatever you want to call them, residences, whatever, are in one part of the city. That makes it really easy to tell where all the traders are, because they're in a different zone. They're all grouped together, basically.
Like
Just
a
like normal
industrial or residential zone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's reasonable, and I've discussed with you guys in there about taxes resulting from that.
Which is something I'm kind of hesitant to talk about, because I don't know if that's something people would be willing to deal with. But, I mean, for all I know how these governments break down, taxes might be a necessary evil. I don't want them. And I might even, from a department and ministry, benefit from that. I don't want players to have to do stuff like that.
I mean, if I can imagine a tax being very beneficial to a certain group of players in like a city or something like that, but I mean, you could always take all that tax money and put it back into the city itself and provide services and things like that, make it beneficial for everybody.
Sure. But again, I don't know how that's going to break out yet.
I suppose the question is, how does a nation fund itself if it doesn't pay taxes? Historically, that's been spoils of war or some other way of funding, which, I don't know, the lesser
Straight
of two
patriotism.
evils, right? Yes.
Just patriotism. That's it.
Jesus. You don't want to run on pure patriotism.
And burning heretics.
Yes.
Patriotism is a dangerous fuel. It's unpredictable. I mean, I personally intend to, even though I will say SilverLight Industries is dedicated to paying all of its employees for any work that they do, I intend to actually not receive any payment for any work that I do, because that's just simply how I operate as a support in large groups. Is I do everything pro bono, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to be donating a number of my DAX from purchasing the Kickstarter towards public relations. And thanks to our friends over at DICE, we hope to have some interesting community events set up to where you can possibly win one of these DAX.
No, definitely.
What was that?
Definitely, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
The more kind of competitions that are not outright war, I think the better.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see, like, two rival organizations that might be or have been at war settle a disagreement in some kind of an organized game as opposed to an actual combat situation.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I was aiming for, and I hope to see that in Dual Union.
I can't wait to see the Mad Max version of ships roll in from Boo. It's going to be great. If there's any kind of mechanic where you can shoot fire out the sides, we know we're going to see that.
Yeah.
All right. The other part of this individual's questions was, would SLI be willing to contract to other corporations to design some constructs? No, we will not. As I covered earlier, we will not subcontract designs. Here's one. What sort of ships does SLI plan to build with a real-life comparison to car companies? For example, a high-end, high-quality Rolls-Royce or a reliable but bland Toyota. We have not necessarily set up anything as of yet, but I will say we do plan to cover this entire spectrum between offering industrial, civil, and military vehicles at low, moderate to high-end quality, whether that be visual or functional, will be entirely based on customer supply and demand.
So, are you saying that you will be competing with objective drive yards in that regard?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't know if Objective Drive Yards tends to have a ship of the line type of thing where they mass produce certain ships and then sell them on on a lot, we will be doing that. I do know they're probably going to take design requisitions where they design specific ships for individuals or organizations. We also plan to do that. I think that we would umbrella over ODY in the sense that we have the manpower. We hope to maintain the manpower in order to provide mass-produced ship components, so that maybe even ODY will be a customer of ours if they don't have the strongest mining and base industrial to support their shipbuilding. Maybe they'll buy their parts from us. That would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, we plan on having some relation with them in the future.
Yeah.
Be it profitable for both sides.
And a lot of people have equated ODY as being one of our greatest competitors. That may be the case. We don't know yet. Technically, no competition has been established yet. However, I do respect them as an organization, as a company. I've spoken with a number of their people in the past, and they seem competent. Some of their designs look quite nice, as we've, of course, seen them featured in Novaquark videos. One thing I would like to say is, even if we enter any kind of competition directly with ODY, we will not resort to hostile competition. We haven't set it in stone yet, but I'm dedicated as second in command for operations. I'm going to use whatever influence I have to not result to hostile competition. We will not attack their assets. We will not hire pirates to do it for us. We will not attempt to shut down any of their marketplaces aggressively. We're generally not going to adopt hostile business practices against other corporations.
We plan on cooperating with everyone,
yes,
and especially ODY.
Competition benefits both parties is how I look at it. Generally, most stuff.
I mean, I really don't see this being an issue because I have confidence in the designers that we have. And again, the community hasn't seen a whole lot of what we've put out as far as designs. We keep a lot of that in-house. We're not super public with that yet in the development of the game, but I have great confidence in our designers. But if the situation should occur that ODY manages to completely outtask us on ship design, that's not going to kill us, because that's not all we do. Not only do we develop and build all forms of constructs, we're going to sell ship components. So I'm actually, even if they manage to outsell us on ship designs, odds are we're going to be selling them the components they're using to build those ships. So ultimately, that's not going to kill us.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, so would you take on ODY on making hovercraft for hovercraft?
What was that?
So for hovercraft races,
yeah,
would you take on and build your hovercraft, SLI hovercraft, and take on ODIY's hovercraft and see which one can build the best hovercraft?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not right now. Not confident with the mechanics that the game is promoting at the moment, or the stability.
Well, eventually.
No, yeah, eventually, absolutely.
Yeah, we plan on being pretty involved into dice and things like that. I'm sure you imagine Kurock. Like, I've been pretty active with dice, but we plan on, yes, absolutely.
In fact, Kurock, if DICE wants to take point and host some kind of an organization-exclusive competition amongst certain vehicle types, we would be more than happy to participate.
That would certainly be an interesting one, interesting competition to watch.
Yeah. So do
go
ahead.
I hope we have pod racing. That's all.
It's the hovercraft racing is effectively dual universes pod racing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be very different. The shape of the ship is going to be entirely up to the players.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see quite a bit of aerodynamic ships, however.
Oh yeah.
Unless someone wants to just be the fastest troll out there.
Seat on a rocket, that's what I say.
Now, I want to see someone flying a Borg cube in a hovercraft competition. But, yeah. So, another questioner wants to know how our ship design process is going to look in SLI, and whether we're mostly going to build for client specifications or if we'll have our own designs and sell after, and will there be any exclusivity in ship designs based on client standing. And I think I've covered that, and we're going to be ground up, build everything ourselves, mine everything ourselves, build our components, build our ships. We'll take requests on design, we'll sell ships as is. Those two will not overlap. We're not going to take a ship that we've been commissioned to build and then sell it on the open market. That's not going to happen. Because when you purchase a ship design from SilverLight, you're purchasing the design itself. We're not just the ship.
We're commissioning the design itself.
Yes. And also exclusivity.
An interesting question on top of that one is, can someone else commission a design based on a design that has already been commissioned for someone else?
We will make an alternative, yeah. But
so something similar but not entirely the same is still okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Creative alternation is a big thing, because you can design things in many different ways to look somewhat similar that could have completely different functionality. And the not knowing is the big part. If you ask for, hey, I saw this guy flying a ship you built, can we get one of those? We'd be like, no, we designed that for him, we can't give you that. Like, can you give us something similar? Absolutely. We'll design something, we'll build it for you, here you go. How does it differ from their ship? We can't tell you that.
But it will be unique.
I have something to add.
Uh-huh.
So, as much as it pains me to ask this question, buys it. All the time, all the weeaboos get out and want to make mechs. I hate the idea of mechs.
I want mechs.
No, they are so not functional.
Shadow Lord Alpha is a big fan of mechs.
I think bipedal mechs will be the better ones instead of like Gundams.
Yes.
Having said that, I don't think mechs are going to exist in Dual Universe.
Thank you.
They have mentioned that they were not going to develop mechanics like hinged parts or articulating parts or anything like
The best
that.
you would get is a fucking mech on a tank tread, which would just look stupid as all hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can have a mech that just doesn't move. It just looks like one from far away. I don't know how practical that is, because mechs are usually equated with combat.
Yeah.
So you basically have a really big area to shoot at if this mech is coming for you.
With very defined hinges for you to shoot out, so you can just drop the whole arm off.
There are no hinges in Dual Universe, so...
Well, no, I meant like you could shoot at the arm joint if the arm is a gun, and there goes their gun.
Exactly.
Well,
Every single discussion I have with people about this is like, yes, it's cool, but it's not useful.
While I agree it's not practical, it will still look... So maybe there could be mech shows.
We could build you a mech statue.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Transformers, on the other hand.
It's mech dressage. There you go.
There you go.
We've made a new type of event.
Yeah, I think the most articulating thing you'll ever see is like the gates and things like that, or a wall, or anything like that. I don't think there's any mention or any functionality for anything articulating.
Right.
So, Unfortunately, I mean, we can't make anything like that, but I think it would be kind of overkill and overload for the server to actually have to factor in all that physics involved with
Right.
articulating parts, because if you really imagine it, DU can be at a massive scale over time, and that would just be so much processing power that is demanding to do all of that.
Yeah, it comes into the space engineer's problem, is how I look at it.
Right. Because that's the thing, this is gonna be a single shard. It's gonna be one single server. So if you have like 10,000 people playing at once with 10,000 ships going around, and everyone has that hinge or whatever like that, it just kind of quadruples everything.
Kurock have already stated and denied. They are outright saying there will be no hinges, there will be no sliders, there will be no rotors and no extenders or what pistons. So all of that has been suggested by the community multiple times, and there have been multiple tickets in the trailer
It
board.
just keeps getting shot down.
Yeah. And it's at least twice it has been shut down and just said outright rejected. We won't see it at release, and hopefully maybe in the future afterwards, but right now I wouldn't hold my breath.
Right. That's the thing. If this game does keep on continuing the way it is, like the player base keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, all the supporters are, they start to keep raising more money, and eventually it starts, growing as a game. That means they would have more, income and expense to actually grow the game itself and the servers. So it could be eventually that they do keep on developing everything and adding a lot more content to it. So who really knows how far DU will go as time goes on?
Actually, I have a question here that would be best answered by you, Raptor. As wars are inevitable, how would we react as a corporation, as mediator or third-party force like NATO?
I mean, as we mentioned before, our security force is not going to be, it's going to be passive. It's not going to be, involved in any conflicts like that. So if anything does happen, I mean, we don't have forces that can be commissioned to go, say, to like a different planet to fight off a certain enemy in support of another company or another organization. We just don't have the manpower. That's not what we do. We're not an army. We don't have an army. We don't have anything like that. We're just mostly a business. And what we do is we protect our assets. We're not going to actively seek conflict or get involved in conflict. So we won't really have an opinion of conflicts or anything like that. We are just going to do strictly business.
Can you send supplies like repair components, components themselves? Would SLI send those kind of things to a conflict area, or
that is a
just
good
leave
question.
that for others?
That is a good question. As in the real life, I mean, money is power. So I mean, if one side has more money than the other, kind of
We've been weighing.
Service and delivering. I mean, that's the thing. We're not going to pick sides, but we're still a business.
We've been weighing a few options on how to handle that. More specifically, the concept of trade embargoes was the biggest thing we've been looking at. And we do transport our own ships. And as Tolan Gazar asked, will you be hiring mercs to protect your transport ships? We do have an SLI security division to do that. However, we're open to hiring mercenaries if necessary, given on certain situations, because maybe our security force might not be active in the region we need to deliver to. So yeah, we could do that. But as far as delivering under trade embargoes or under the threat of war, we've considered a few options, one of which we could honor the trade embargo of our closer ally, which would be picking sides in the war. and we don't want to do that. So that's not a preferential choice. We could go completely neutral and say we will continue to distribute our goods to whomever purchases them, and then whoever blows up our ships will be required to pay for the ship and the merchandise in it. Or we could, if, let's say, someone's city is under siege and we're supposed to be delivering goods there, we can tell them, look, if you really want this, we can't deliver it there because it's a hostile war zone, so we can deliver it somewhere else. Where do you want us to send it to that isn't currently under fire? Which would honestly be the most reasonable choice. And then one last option would be a embargo buyout, where if we are going to send goods to someone that's under embargo, and one of our customers that is enacting that embargo demands that we not deliver those goods, we allow them to purchase the goods from us instead.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that one.
Yeah, like I said, it's a number of options, some of which are not preferential. We're still discussing it in our ethics division.
You could expect us not to pick sides in any situation. Hopefully, if we are very fair and unbiased with our trade and our purchases and sales and everything like that with the community, hopefully everyone would sort of kind of appreciate the fairness, like it's kind of like a reliable source for things, like wouldn't have to really, you know, anticipate anything happening with it, like it's extremely reliable, that everyone just sort of, you know, doesn't kind of get in our way with our trade and conducting our business, so everyone as a community could benefit from it, like a reliable source of things. Hopefully.
Yeah. Alright, so here's another one for you, Raptor. What is SilverLight's stance on corporate espionage? And how does SLI plan to protect itself against it? And are there plans of performing it against others?
We do not plan on doing anything espionage related to other organizations. We will internally defend against espionage and protect our assets. That's it.
No further comment.
Something to add to that. What is espionage? Because again, that goes back to the whole, what is smuggling?
I mean, essentially, like spies infiltrating other organizations and information links and viable, like intellectual property leaking to another organization, anything like that.
So we had an example earlier where SLI will keep blueprints of the unique ships that they've created. Espionage would leak those blueprints outside the SLI. That's an example of where that could occur.
This is true. We plan to limit access within our corporation based on different security factors. Right now it's somewhat preliminary. In order to gain full access to our operational channel, you cannot be a member of any corporation. If you're a member of corporation, you're limited to mining and our general operations tab, where we don't discuss designs or anything that we're developing as far as structures. And if you're not a member of an organization, you're able to access discussion on designs. And then only trusted members that have been with us for a while and have proven their ability at designing are allowed in as actual designers, which have a special location for ongoing projects. So the commissions I spoke of earlier, where we were commissioned to build a couple of ships, they're the only ones that can see into that at this time. More in-depth security will be done as the game develops and allows for such things, and as our necessity grows. As there's more secrets to be kept, the more stringent we'll be upon that.
That is true. Like, I mean, that's the thing about the game is we're not too sure how deep the espionage can go in terms of an external player trying to access certain elements in the game or certain constructs or the cores. I'm not 100% sure how that will work, but by all means, like somebody in an org can leak information or just completely just take it down from the inside because they do. They kind of like raise from the ranks. It's kind of like the Departed kind of a thing. So that is very possible to happen, but that's the thing. I mean, with power comes the power to destroy.
Sure. And I think the other thing is then how do you, like, sure, prevention is key, but then let's just say it's an independent spy, one random troll, not a corporation or something.
Okay.
How do you punish those people?
Like,
do you just
depends on the extent of the violation, but ejection from the corporation would be one option.
Well, I can see that, but I'm saying, okay, let's say I don't know, player A joins you guys, waits out, gets to the top, steals everything, and then just says, I don't want to be here anymore, and I have nothing to say that I can just go do and make everything you do.
Well, I mean, there will be ways to prevent that, but that's mostly our
Prevention's key, as you said, and if we put ourselves in such a situation, then honestly we deserve to get robbed. But
right.
As far as punishing them, there's nothing we can do. Are we going to chase down one random asshole that just ran off?
That's fair too. I don't know.
I mean, they'll certainly be blacklisted.
Oh yeah,
certain
that's a given.
But I mean, in terms of like retaliation or penalties, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there has been great examples in the community that there has been some great trolls going around.
I look at it as you just hard code them out. You can't use it literally because your name says you can't.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not too sure there will be like a penalty system or anything like that. I would imagine maybe the community might come up with like a rating system or something like that. And say like if this person is a very like a big troll and just goes around just doing some.
If we have a lower end breach of security, we of course could just limit their access in our company without ejecting them.
It's all about prevention.
It just came to my head, again, it comes back to anarchy. Anybody can do whatever they want, but I don't know.
I mean, it is a video game in the end. We can only trust ourselves so much. It's not like you're actually going to jail if you sell out your corporation or something. And as much as we could kill you, it's not going to stick.
Yeah. And the only reason I kind of get into that is because I don't want this game to end up being, well, end of the day, I can do whatever the hell I want, and it turns into some big toxic shit.
I mean, it's gonna, but the question is how prevalent is that concept going to be? There's not a whole lot that we can do to restrict that because, I mean, if a trustworthy person just decides that they're just going to be a dickbag after a while, then that's it. Like, we can't stop them.
Actually, just from the chat right there, bounties. Problem solved. Just literally bounty them permanently.
True. I mean, that is an option, but that all depends on how the bounty system works.
That'll be a bit expensive, though.
If it's not a priority, give them, I don't know, 100 gold a kill or something. I don't know. Just the fact that somebody's out there and they're bored, somebody will go after someone. That's how I look at it.
All right, I'm going to burn through a couple of these questions real quick if I can. Money-wise, will SLI operate strictly like a company, pay wages, and reinvest the profit, or will they run a state, including spending money on a standing military, building up a war chest, and providing social services? The first one, very much. We are a corporation through and through. We will have property available to SLI individuals. Whether it's for purchase or for lease is dependent on the situation. But we do plan to eventually have a city to facilitate people's individual exploits as well as facilitating their activity within the corporation. But we are by no means a government. You can do whatever you want, just not while you're in SLI territory, and you can't do whatever you want with SLI property. But we're a place you work. And you can live with us, but we're not going to have like free transportation and free access to this or that as like a social service. We don't do that. You might get that as a benefit of being a higher rank or more productive within SLI, but the only real social service we have is an ore buyback program where we will buy ore from literally anyone, but you don't even need to be a citizen for that.
What about insurance?
We have discussed
We've been
insurance.
talking about that. I mean, it's kind of hard to do exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's a system in place that we could have something like that, I mean,
We're definitely open to the concept.
right. But I'm just not 100% sure how that would actually work.
Yeah.
Will character progression of skills and profession be centrally planned by SLI to have advanced specialists in certain fields, or can both members choose whatever they want?
It really depends on what you're doing necessarily. You can, if you want to, invest fully into a certain job that you do. I mean, it really depends on the player. We're not going to require you to do it, but say if a position is available that does require you to do that, I mean, there's going to be a trade-off. I mean, if you do want to dedicate fully to, say, that skill tree for that certain job, or if you don't want to, I mean, it's completely up to you.
Yes, what you want to do and what you're able to do, although they are two different things, they are categorized in the same way, and we will address both. So if you want to do something with SLI but none of your skills support it, you're not going to be as effective as some of your other cohorts, most likely. That being said, it's not like you can't do that for the company. You just might not be as successful, and you personally should probably take that into account. But we're not going to tell you what to do.
Just do it.
Just do it. You know, I saw a T-shirt, someone walking around with a shirt that said "Just do it," but not like the Nike. It said "DU." It was pretty plain, and it didn't have the DU like text. Like, you know how the DU logo is different? Yeah. It was just a normal DU, so I think someone just fucking made the shirt.
Just DU it.
Yeah.
I am tempted. I'm so tempted.
It's technically not copyrighted yet.
True.
And they might have trouble copywriting it because of Nike's "Just Do It." Yeah. Where do you see?
That's true.
Where do you see SLI's challenges concerning combat? Will policing of territory and trade routes by the 81st Screaming Weasels be enough, or do you see a danger of SLI being dragged into wars?
We do have plans of having supplemental security, depending on if it is necessary or not. Like I've said before, I mean, we're not a military, we're not actively seeking combat or anything like that, so, I mean, we will have necessary assets to protect us, but we will be supplementing some forces.
Here's an interesting thing. Uber.
Uber?
You mean Duber?
Oh,
Space Uber.
you punny bastard.
Duber.
We do plan on doing, providing some services like that. I mean, there will be a small charge for it, or say if we have, a contract with a certain city that will pay for that service,
Whoa.
Say with tax money, and provide it to the citizens.
I would love,
plan on having something like that.
and I'm sure other people are already going to look into it, is an automated Uber system where you can go to a kiosk and say, I need a ride here, and then a car with automated scripting shows up and you say, go here, and then it just drops your ass off there. That would be fucking phenomenal.
That'd be possible.
That would be more ideal for cities that you own, or if you wanted to order such a system to be installed in your city, that would be more likely than us independently running this system in someone else's city.
Sure.
But that being said, the first structure I built in the game was a space bus. So
What about a space train?
I don't know how one would make a train.
I have some concepts of a design.
Here's a question.
for
Is it still a train if there's no track?
Yes, a
It's a
monorail.
hover train.
Yeah.
But what makes a train a train? Because I've seen trucks with 2 cabs on it. Is that technically a train?
Yes.
I don't think I think like 3 or 4 segments will technically make it a train.
I'm gonna have to Google what makes a train a train.
But
It's a sneak.
we do have
Space
some
sneak.
we have some conceptual designs of
Yeah.
some sort of train or mag rail system
Oh, that'd be good.
that will provide mass transit within like a really big city.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, I mean, we will develop some things like that and provide it or contract it out to, say, like a city or a certain organization if they want to have that, depending on what they want to use it for.
Right.
So we will like develop certain technologies that will benefit, you know, organizations and cities as a whole.
Yeah, we're more looking to sell the structures more than we are implementing the service ourselves. Because again, we're not a nation. We're not a government.
Sure.
But, you know, I mean, we'd probably have some kind of free transportation for our employees if we had off-site facilities that they needed to get to. That would probably be included inside of some kind of material transport. So we're not going to do just one. Like, if we're currently shipping materials to a site and someone needs to get there, they're just going to hop on board.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Will SLI claim and defend valuable territory, especially rare resources, even if it means provoking other potentially military-focused organizations?
About land acquisition, like we've been trying to advocate this whole entire time, we're not a conflict-seeking organization. If it is going to step on even one person's toes and cause a big problem like that, we are not going to seek that avenue. It's all going to be peaceful, cooperative, and mutual.
Well, that does raise an interesting point. Is if you have you need territory for your factories, for your construction, and the more valuable territory will be closer to the more valuable resources, like the resources inside the ground, for example, like ores. So now this question becomes, are you happy to have territories further away from these valuable resources? So that's not to step on toes, or...
I mean, as long as we, you know, say like if TU like starts claiming a certain chunk of land, and it starts kind of like forming a circle in the middle, and all that land is not claimed in the middle. I mean, obviously we would ask them, it's like, hey, are you guys cool if we start claiming on this land in the middle? I mean, it's unclaimed land, nobody technically owns it, so we could have every right to claim it. But I would ask them, it's like, hey, do you guys have any plans with this? Like, are you guys gonna have some beef with us if we start doing that? I mean, we'll do like the courtesy thing and ask them what they plan on doing with it, if it is gonna start, you know, some sort of conflict in the future. But
I'll probably preface this with... Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing, like we plan on acquiring some lands. I mean, we definitely have to have some sort of property to operate, but in terms of how much we're gonna claim, I don't think it's gonna be a big goal for us, but we don't tend to step on. We don't try to step on any toes.
Yeah, I'll probably preface this with, we're always open to negotiation, but ultimately, we do not honor eminent domain. If you have not claimed the territory, it is not yours. We will, however, honor ongoing extraction operations, or if you have buildings in the area, we're not going to set up shop within the same territory that you're currently operating in without discussing that with you first. But if the territory is empty, no matter how close it is to your claimed territory, we will still operate there if we see the need. We do not honor eminent domain, but we are open to negotiation.
So a follow-up question to that would be, are you more partial to safe zone areas, or would you be more partial to having an area further away from a safe zone?
With the safe zones concerned, I mean, depending on how valuable asset we would need to protect, obviously we would put it in a safe zone. But that is a good question. That is a good question. I would believe more of the valuable assets will be in the safe zones and not so much outside of that.
For our facilities, where we're going to build, sell, and trade everything, we're going to try to maintain close next to or in the safe zone or the sanctuary moon, just because, I mean, if it's just that much easier to not have to worry about security, why would we not take up that option? Having to fight back some ballsy pirate raiders that decided, hey, let's fuck with the SLI. We're not going to deal with that if we don't have to. But as far as mining, we'll go wherever we have to. We have a number of systems in place involved in security, extraction of ore, transporting of goods, that we believe will help us facilitate this with minimal risk. All right. Did you have anything to add on that, Zach?
No, I think you covered it.
All right. Man, we had an individual ask quite a few questions, so we're still burning through their list. Will SLI spread to far out solar systems and base there, or will you stay in likely more populated areas close to Iloth where there's more commerce?
I think we already answered this question. So
we will go where the customers are. That is guaranteed. All right. Does SLI plan on doing public relations in the form of video or text, or will you only advertise in other media and stay private otherwise? I think in the early days, we're going to keep our public relations to these Q&As and other such appearances, as well as if anyone wants to do direct interviews or us communicating with the public. As far as later, we'll probably become a little less private. We'll start advertising in videos more of our designs, more of our activity and intentions. And throughout the whole thing, part of our public relations is both helping the community do whatever it is that we do. So as Kurock puts it, we can just do it. And also rewarding the community for interacting with us and each other through competitions or, other such games, which is, why we want to work so closely with DICE, because games, I feel, are one of the best ways to interact with the community.
We need our version of Spleef.
Our version of what?
Spleef. Minecraft game.
Oh. I don't actually know what that is.
It's just a game in a game.
We dig it. But yeah. One thing, actually, since we're touching on public relations, I wanted to do that I haven't discussed, even really with SLI, is I want to make some kind of a Golden Gate or a gateway program where we set up with other organizations a introductory to Dual Universe for new players near the Ark ship, where we will show people or teach people how to play the game, and we will get them started with some basic equipment. Give them access to any and all organizations that want to represent themselves in the structure, so they can be fully informed on their options going into the community.
Yeah, we have discussed this topic as well. We kind of want to set up put big air quotes on this, university, where we're not just teaching you game mechanics. You know, we'll have information on all the history, hopefully. I don't know, I'm not really part of this part of TU. It falls under a different ministry. But honestly, I really hope to push it to be more of a community-driven thing. Because, you know, I look at it, I had friends who were really big into EVE, and they wanted me to play it, and I tried, and I was just like, I am literally so far behind, it's not even worth me playing.
Yeah.
You know, setting up those new players to, you know, as you said, in a community where it's driven by the community, if we don't encourage and help out the new people, the, you know, player base falls off.
Right.
Generally, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing about the emerging gameplay. If it gets stagnant or starts dropping, like people stop playing, then eventually it's gonna get nowhere fast. Like that's the thing. More people we have contributing to the whole entire community and the game as a whole, the faster it can expand, the more we can get done, the more it does expand and advance. The more fun it gets too. When we start colonizing other planets and making massive space stations, start seeing massive ships, like I mean, it'll be cool to see all that hard work that everyone has been contributing to actually pay off.
Yeah.
And it's all user created. That's the thing. Like if you invest your best time and energy into this game, like it could benefit, and then anyone else could benefit too. That's why I think people are not as advantageous to start conflicts, because essentially it is diverting resources to advance in the game, in like little squabbles and things like that. So I hopefully think there won't be much conflict. I mean, there probably eventually will. I mean, there's no point of making massive, you know, gunships unless you can't use it. So, I mean, I think there is going to be something like that, but I think the game will get to a certain point or a certain player base until, you know, things start really kicking off like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the flip side of that is NovaQuark are making tutorials themselves for new players, and they've stated that they are not happy with even releasing to the open public until such tutorials are up to scratch or really, really good.
Sure. Which makes sense.
Yeah, so this kind of, I don't know, it somewhat puts a damper on the community-driven stuff. Not to a huge extent, but partially.
Yeah, it would make us more supplemental.
It definitely does.
Right.
But yes, but until we know what NovaQuark is actually, what the tutorials they're providing do, it's like, what can the community do to supplement that?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't recommend us getting started on any program such as this until beta is launched.
Sure. But some things do come to mind to me. You know, I really look at it as, again, going back to the whole Toyota versus Rolls-Royce. You know what I mean? Rolls-Royce. There we go. Almost like where the community would eat cost on certain things for all players across the board. Like say, I didn't play a lot of EVE. Like I said, I got kind of, I don't know, I lost interest or whatever. I just didn't play too much. But, you know, at any case, a player at any level or any ability could get a pod to get anywhere. Not saying that would be something that's free, but across the board it would be like a normal ship costs its normal amount, but every person in the community would subsidize pods maybe in the future after everybody's in space, so that, you know, those players aren't punished and just stuck on the spawn world.
Right, I know what you mean. Kind of eliminate that curve of someone compared to like someone playing for like 2 years after launch, someone just trying to get into it. Like it is kind of discouraging having that huge curve trying to advance in the game. But I mean, yes, I would really hope there would be systems in place where we would start newcomers as soon as they get into the game, or help them, you know, get started into something. I hope there would be a collaboration of the larger orgs, that we would come together and help out the newcomers so it doesn't get them discouraged and drop the player base and things like that. So
And-
I hopefully would hope that would happen.
Yeah, and where we could make it almost cheap enough that, hey everybody, here's the base ship that we're gonna give to everybody and anybody can supply, because we want to get people in the space and have them be able to play the game. Or if you just get dicked over, you're not stuck on the spawn world again.
Right.
Well, another way to do that is to provide shuttles to off worlds, to other worlds where people want to go.
Sure, but then they're limited to only where those ships go. I'm looking literally your cardboard box of a rocket,
Yeah, very, very cheap little ship that can get into space.
Exactly.
Right.
And crash land on some barren planet.
Well, that's their problem then.
I'm just wondering how well people will be able to fly a ship on their very first try.
Well, again, that's also why I'm looking at it as, it's the cardboard box of rockets. It's to learn.
I think it's more the
crash
engineering
this.
I think if a design is perfected to a certain point, like it can be made, super cheap, like sold like dirt cheap, produced massively. But if the engineering aspect of it, like make it, pretty much for everybody, anyone can jump in and start flying it, easily. I think that'd be really important too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all the engineering side to it and the coding, like how we'll navigate and how easy it is to fly.
All right. I think we can move on to the next question. We're almost done with the SLI specific segment. Not that it's been, entirely specific about SLI, but that was intentional. All right. What is the final goal for the corporation? Is it a trading Mongol or revolutionary technology company? What is the first objective, first space cruiser, or first city structure planned?
We do have high aspirations.
Yeah.
We do plan on, somewhat being a mogul in the whole entire game. Like I've been saying before, we do plan on being an extremely reliable resource to utilize at any level of DU. So, we don't plan on becoming so big like they can't fail or a monopoly, but we do plan on having high aspirations of expanding and providing a service to customers and also employees.
We do have various goals depending on which manager you ask. However, I think ultimately we just want to be a large and ever-present corporation. We don't want to just be where the customer is. We want to be everywhere the customer is, ideally. And as far as, trading Mongol, I don't really know what that is. But definitely revolutionary technology. We want to stay on the cutting edge, have the most advanced anything that's available. That would be ideal. But I would like to see us personally be the head of some kind of a trade union or a trade organization where multiple corporations come together and work for mutual benefit.
I could agree with that.
But we'll see where that goes. The first objective is to get the corporation started. Really is the best way to put that. We need to get a facility to produce our goods, and we need to get a commodity in which we can sell to our customers. And I think we have some good ideas instilled there, number of which are confidential, but I think we'll be able to pull it off pretty successfully, where we can still pay all of our customers even when there isn't any quanta, and keep all the materials in the beginning. So yeah, that's our first objective, getting the corporation kickstarted without a hitch. First space cruiser.
Right.
As much as I preach conservation in the development of blueprints, because I know exactly how much it will cost in materials to build these large ships, and how long it will take to physically build them. It's not an easy task. It will certainly not be easy. It will certainly not be fast. We have had a couple of larger ship designs that look pretty interesting, but nothing that we can name or nothing really specific yet. So I'd say in that matter, check back later. And first city structure, I would love to build the Capitol building that we've been planning. It's essentially a huge representation of our basic SilverLight Industries logo, with hangar bays all throughout the sides, so that we can build and move product and ships in and out, so that it'll be a primary headquarters for ship design.
I just want memes in space.
That's gonna happen too.
Meme billboards everywhere.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait to see billboards. It's gonna be great.
There's gonna be a project to make a space whale.
You guys know at some point there's gonna be a war of the dick ships, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
Space Invaders versus dick ships.
Novacork told us that they're not going to administrate what our ships can be. Like, they're just going to let us figure that out. So there's going to be a group of people that don't want dick ships, and then there's going to be the group of people who are building dick ships.
Blue flagship.
I think they would step in at certain point. I really think so, because you really could get pretty.
I guarantee you, someone's going to test that boundary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, I don't know. Maybe after launch, they might not. I think before launch they're a little scrutinous, but I think after launch.
I don't know, if someone builds a ship that is essentially a wall of pixelated graphic pornography. Like, there's got to be a line. Where that line's going to be, I guarantee you, is going to be found by Boo.
Someone's going to cross it. There could be, like, a massive, like, 2,000 by 2,000 voxel.
In fact, I would love to see Boo start a project called Find the Line, where they try to push the line and get Novacork to yell at them.
Oh man, that'd be great. It's like a small faction of renegades that just,
In fact, I'll probably bring that up to them the next time I talk to them. All right.
Do we have any questions left?
Yeah, we do. Some of them are community specific. We have one more that is SLI specific, and it's as a corporation is a company. As a corporation is a company, would it be easy to climb your way up the ladder of hierarchy? Easy? Not necessarily, especially after launch. But possible, yes, because the more members we get and the larger we become, the more positions will become available.
Right. Just like any other business. I mean, say if you help start a business that's, just slowly or getting off the ground. I mean, you have the opportunity to grow with that business and move through it and get promoted through it as it does grow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's all set to your ambitions. Like, if you want to, just strictly be, like a space trucker, or, a miner, or a designer, anything like that. I mean, depending on where you are at, I mean, you definitely could move up if a position become available.
Just as a rough hierarchy ladder, you could be a miner. Yeah, and then you could be a mining foreman, which is the next step that we have that... they have a little bit more responsibility, and they sort of collect the miners together, and they target particular resources or areas and try to coordinate extraction. They have the head of mining. Now, we don't have any mining foremen right now, and we don't have a head of mining. All of that is handled by... I guess it would be me.
Well, the thing is that we do have a policy that you can't have multiple roles within the company.
Yeah.
You pretty much have a primary one or a secondary one. Essentially, it is mostly just cross-training throughout the whole entire company. So, say, like, if we don't have as many active members at a certain time of the day in DU, we would have people that can
do other jobs and perform other duties need be.
And then also, like, let's say we have a head of mining. The corporation keeps growing. Maybe now we have a head of mining on Iloth and a head of mining on some other planet. Because, I mean, as, like I said, the corporation grows, the more positions will become available. And even if that means duplicating existing positions, if necessary, we'll do that. Yeah. As the corporation gets bigger in the future, would you allow high-ranking individuals to form a child corporation to focus on a different focus of the main charter of the corporation? For example, if a job becomes too big and you would need a shipyard corporation in space or on another planet.
Honestly, I think it's just a matter of labeling or branding at that point. I wouldn't imagine that we would necessarily create like a completely separate org under that same umbrella, but it would be affiliated to SLI at some point, but I'm not really sure how it would work
We
out,
haven't...
because we
Yeah.
do have policies that we will, give certain permissions or abilities with minimal oversight to someone that wants to have some sort of independence within the company. We do have some sort of system in place and can make deals like that. But in terms of a smaller, somewhat like sister company under the SLI umbrella that's different brand or different name, I'm not really entirely sure we will do that, but it could just be like a subsidiary or something relatively
We
close
haven't
to
worked out the
SLI, so it is
details,
recognizable.
but we are open to the possibility of divisions within the corporation that could operate with greater autonomy and would be sort of like a smaller corporate structure within itself. So an isolated, I would like to call it a satellite corporation. It would be in every way SLI still. They could have their own name and their own branding. However, in such situations, it would be required that that name and branding also represent SilverLight Industries. We're open to the concept. We don't have that at the moment, but I feel like it would cover our acquisition of other corporations, because we have discussed the possibility of absorbing other industrial corporations that want greater autonomy, allowing them to keep their name, but making it clear in all forms and function that they are, in fact, under the authority of SLI.
I have something to add off of that. How do we prevent monopoly and oligopolies in
Oligarchy?
in this as well? Yeah, maybe it was that. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at, though. Specifically to the fact that, not saying even strictly you guys, but just in general, where we keep fair competition, something that's in the spirit of what we do cross-platform, I guess.
Don't consider this an
think it's
official
mostly-
statement necessarily, because we haven't gotten into great detail with that in our ethics division, but we don't really want to.
I mean, we're not going to try to actively become a monopoly, but by all means, in essence, there is a possibility that we could become a monopoly if we don't have any adequate competition, but necessarily we're not actively
We can say that should we become a monopoly, we're not going to price gouge and use our weight to crush any competition. So whereas one would be afraid of the behavior of a monopoly for their ability to force others out of business or, act unethically, we are dedicated to not do that even if we have the power, but we don't want to restrict ourselves from getting that power if it should happen.
Okay. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I guess I'll say, because I think it is responsibility of any org or nation to make sure that even if you do want to join, like for instance, let's say there are just you guys in one other company, you could cooperate, but I don't think you should merge, if that makes sense.
We would be open to it.
Okay.
Because
just my
in the end,
opinion.
you have to understand that we're a corporation. We're not a nation. We don't do, like, our ultimate objective is to building ourselves. However, I do think that our corporate policy is a lot more ethical than most, in that we accept that in order to build ourselves, we have to build our individuals and allow our community to grow. Whereas a lot of corporations would, gladly burn their communities to the ground for a profit. We would not do that.
Sure. I think you guys get what I'm getting at, though.
We understand.
I know what you mean.
That's a common worry of organizations or governments.
Right. Like, I mean, we have different aspirations and needs compared to, say, like a organization that is mostly a nation or a government. Like, we are mainly, our sole function is for profits and selling. So our needs and our advancement is going to be a little bit different compared to another organization. Essentially,
I suppose the biggest fear of like a monopoly would be the price fixing that goes with it.
Right.
That's really all I'm kind of getting at.
That's the thing. I think a monopoly will have to be checked by the community itself.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, say SLI theoretically does become a monopoly. You say, like, hey guys, stop doing that. Stop being a monopoly. And we could say, is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're not a monopoly. But okay, we'll agree with you. We are a monopoly. What do you want to do?
Yeah, because
So,
ultimately, like,
essentially,
you
we
can't
can't do
ask
like
us to, like, intentionally cut our own profits. I mean, we will try to make sure that everything we do is fair, but we won't be the greatest source on what is fair about our own practices. We're sure that outside opinion will differ because we don't have an outside perspective of our own business. But what we expect to happen if we become a monopoly is, for example, Terran Union will be like, hey, we've noticed that our costs and our our citizens are having to pay exorbitant costs for all these fuel and materials that we can only get from you. So if you don't stop, we're going to ban all sales from SilverLight in any of our cities, and we're going to allow smaller companies to take over, and we will not accept any imports from you. And that's perfectly reasonable. Sure. We'd be like, okay, well, let's see what we can do about bringing those costs down.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah, because it's kind of hard to self-regulate internally in that manner, but, I'm just looking from a community perspective more than anything.
Well, at the same time, I want our profits to, in part, go towards helping the community personally. For example, if we got really big and our profits were stupid, I would actually want to start giving more of that money back to the community. Helping new players get starting equipment, helping them, get going as opposed to just being digging dirt on rock bottom.
Right, yeah.
All right, I think we should just answer question, and that should be it.
All right.
For this one.
I'd say that's covered.
Make it a good one, though.
Well, we've got two questions from the same individual that was sort of pushing off to be more on the community end because it's less business related. But this one, I think it's a little bit both business, SLI, and community. And they want to know that historically we've kept away from drama that seems to infest some of the other dual universe organizations. And some may say we're even boring. And they want to know what our secret is as a company, and have there been any examples that we might be classified as drama within SLI that no one knows about?
Honestly, the reason we are kind of boring in that sense that, you know, we don't have all that drama or anything like that is that we are open organization. We are having fun while playing the game, but we really don't take anything too seriously. So we're always really open. We understand that people, you know, do have real lives and other obligations and things like that. So we always stress the fact that yes, we understand you do want to play a game and have fun and want to contribute, you know, X amount to the game or X amount of time to it, and we understand that. Like, I mean, we're not going to give you any crap if you know, can't make it to a certain thing, or, you know, be active as much as you can, but we have fun.
That being said,
that's what we really focus on.
That being said, we have had some minor issues with individuals who are, I'll say, more excited, more driven in the early days about developing the company and developing plans and what have you, that have gotten at times aggressive, and they feel dejected at the fact that a lot of our SilverLight community is not necessarily active at this time of the development, which is why me and Raptor have put in a great deal of effort in giving those individuals something to do and trying to develop the company as quickly as they want to, or as quickly as we're able to help them. You know, we're trying to facilitate the building of SilverLight for those people that are more, say, time sensitive, that feel now is the time to do everything. So yeah, we've had some issues with that where people were unhappy with our development process. But in the end, although I don't think it's very fast, our development at this time, it is very methodical. We don't want to make any mistakes. We're not just going to be like, all right, this is how we're doing this, everyone deal with it. We get people's opinions. We're like, hey, what do you think about this? And everything we decide is not set in stone because the game is not finished. So we're taking slow steps forward because we don't want to cause any fractures within our organization.
Very well put.
I think what at least we're doing into you is kind of not the flip of that, but that's why, again, I go back to the whole rules thing. We're just trying to throw something against the wall and stick kind of approach too, where, you know, if we have things in place and it doesn't work, we'll just get rid of it, you know?
Yeah.
I did see something that I think we should discuss, though, real quick, if you're done on that point. Just a second ago in the question box, somebody had asked, do you want me to just read it? In games like EVE or WoW, players that play for profit can become frustrated when botters earn exponential amounts of money in-game with little to no effort. How might SLI combat this should botting become prolific in DU? Well, that's the first part.
Well, I can confidently say it won't, because NovaQuark hates the concept of botting. They don't like automation. If it becomes prolific, I guarantee you NovaQuark will do something to make it not function.
Right. I think they have stressed that, like, especially, yeah, they said, like, there's no automatic mining tools. I mean, they can have, like, manufacturing machines and stuff like that, but it's only going to produce as long as you put the materials necessary.
And they did say that any automation we could do, they would intentionally make it to where it would be less efficient in in-game mechanics than us manually doing this. They want hands-on to be the preferential manner of doing anything. But if something like that should occur, I mean, there's really nothing we can do to combat that. Because in the end, if they're turning a profit for the company, there's nothing we can really say about that, you know? Sure. Having said that, I really am reliant on Nova Quark making that not possible, because I would not be happy about extreme botting in this game.
I really think they're going to have systems in place against that, especially with mining and stuff like that. Everything has to be manually done. I mean, the click of the mouse has to do the operation. So I'm not too sure what could be automated or botted necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there's ways against everything. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, if you're inclined to do that, you have to.
So what's the other part of that question?
Know how to do it.
Sorry?
You said that was the first part of that question?
Oh. The second half, will SLI in purpose for profit be rendered obsolete if botters move into the markets and can sell goods for extremely small amounts? So again, I think that kind of has been answered already as well.
All right. The last question we have on this list is, what does SLI do for rest and relaxation?
We do a bunch of things. We have the Not Safe for Work spam channel. That's very interesting.
Does it have a special name?
No. It doesn't.
No special name. How boring.
I like to dig holes myself. I do that a lot.
I once made a pillar of dirt that exceeded 3,000 kilometers to the sky. That was really fun and relaxing.
Well, actually, I can't get specific, but yeah, I can't really specify what I do in Dual Universe. But as far as outside of Dual Universe, I do play a lot of crafting and survival games, along with real-time strategy. But yeah, us as a community, we don't have. I think we have a Minecraft and Empyrean servers. I think it's all really construction survival based. We don't really have much for not that. Because I mean, in the end, we're a corporation. You have to imagine that most of the people involved are interested in corporation related things.
Right. I mean, like, what do you think people do all day in a cubicle with their coworkers? They just mess around the whole time.
Yeah.
They're not really doing any work. They just look like they are. So it's kind of.
We like to. Well, there's one thing that we did. We joked around about potential drop pods, and we were trying to discuss how to ensure that the occupants of this machine would not liquefy upon impact. And so we were theoretically throwing around ideas like, oh, we could cushion it like this, or we could have a retro burn right before it reaches the ground, and all this other stuff. I don't know. It's mostly everything we do for fun is based around ship design and like industrial practices.
It's a really fun community.
Yeah.
It's like work, but not really work.
Yeah.
All right. I think that concludes the first Q&A.
Unless we'll open it up for free questions. Does anyone in the chats have any questions?
No further questions.
Kurock has spoken.
But yeah, I think that let's wrap it up for now. We'll be back eventually, hopefully in the very near future.
All right.
Hopefully we can get a little bit more questions. We'll get some different guests going on. Or expand the panel.
We are going to get this posted.
Everyone think of better questions.
We are going to get this posted up on YouTube as soon as possible after we're done here. And I would let everyone know that the next Q&A I plan to do is going to be based on unions, alliances, and other forms of organizational camaraderie. So
cool.
Anything that binds organizations together. So yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Fun.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Kurock,
Thank you and goodbye.